looked at your bank account and thought, where'd all the money go? You're not alone. This video is your blueprint to job costing success. This is the same systems that we help our clients set up so that they can boost their profits as well as grow and scale their general contracting businesses. All right, job costing. If you get this right, it'll keep you alive. You will make sure that you know where your numbers are at. It is so essentially important to any business that's looking to grow, or if you're just wanting to get a handle on where your profits are going, where your expenses are at, all of that good stuff. So I'm going to be going through the different steps of the whole system that you need to put into place in order to do proper job costing. If you've tried to set this up on your own, you know how difficult it can be to get all these pieces working together. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is your system setup. So you need the right software, you need the right system and process in place in the first place. So typically speaking, the way this is going to work is you're going to have your project management software. There's a lot of, bunch of good ones out there. If you're wondering which ones, I've got other videos on how to get these, which ones I suggest. But essentially, you're going to have your project management software, and this is where a lot of your transactions are going to flow through. Expenses as well as time tracking, which I'm going to dive into deeper. So that's the first component. The second component is your actual bookkeeping / accounting software. QuickBooks is sort of the top dog in the industry, if you will, the most well-known. There's also, Xero as well as other ones that are available. And getting those two to communicate is always a bit of a challenge. But essentially, those are the two software pieces that you need in place in order to get this system flowing. There's other kind of ways to and options, but this is what we suggest and the easiest way that I've found for contractors to get job costing in place. And then the final kind of piece to the puzzle as far as the setup goes is you need proper cost codes. So cost codes is the number code that's going to link a certain expense, transaction, time, whatever it may be, from one part of your business to the other. So it could be from your estimate to your job site, from your job site to your accounting software, your PM software. It's that common ground that you build this job costing off of. Now, cost codes are pretty easy to get in place if you've got good project management software. It is going to have built-in cost codes. And typically, you're going to want to use either the National Association of Home Builders. They've got their own set. If you're more of a residential type contractor, that's a good set. Even light commercial, it's a little bit more simplified and is a great way to get started with cost codes. And I would say majority of contractors are probably in that camp, especially on the residential side as mentioned. If you're a larger commercial contractor, then you're probably going to be familiar with the CSI cost codes, which is the Construction Standards Institute. That's a more built out, larger set of cost codes, thousands of cost codes in there. Of course, you don't need to use them all, but you need to get the basic one set up. And as far as cost codes, you don't need to use all the cost codes that are out there in this huge list. Just kind of simplify it into the ones that you know are going to be meaningful. The purpose of the cost code is so that later you can categorize your expenses or your time tracking per cost code. So you don't need a cost code for screws or nails or things like that. You could have much more generic ones for your larger categories. Good rule of thumb is if you wouldn't have it in an estimate as a line item, you don't need a cost code for it. That's how that split works. All right, so that's the first setup. Number two here. So step number two is your time tracking. Time tracking, again, is not overly difficult. You may already be doing this, but you need to make sure that your guys are not just tracking per project, but they're tracking per task as well. And that's usually where the challenge comes in. It's easy to get people on board with, filling out their hours on an app per project and where they worked, but then getting them to put in the tasks per day per cost code is often where the challenge comes in. And this is another reason why you don't want to have a gigantic list of cost codes available, because it's just going to confuse people. So they should be able to, on site, be able to choose, what did I do today? Framing. Maybe I did like 3 hours of demo and 5 hours of framing or something like that. So they can put in their tasks per job, and that's how you will start to track that. Typically speaking, that's going to be handled in your project management software. You could also be using like a QuickBooks Time or something like that. I've set up both ways of, expense and time tracking, either with project management software or the bookkeeping software. So either one will work. If you're having difficulty with this, if you tried it and given up or whatever, reach out to us. This is what we do. We help our clients set this up for them. We make it easy for you, done for you, and just walk you through it and set up, a system that we've already perfected. So there are links in the description below to get some of our free resources, as well as reach out to us if that's something that you want help with. All right. So with the time tracking, kind of the things to remember is that you need to set reminders. It's very common when you start using different apps or asking people to start tracking their tasks, they're going to forget. If you know site guys, if you know construction guys, once that, 5 o'clock bell or 4 o'clock bell rings, they're gone. They're not thinking about it. So especially at the beginning, you may have to remind them. I like to do this. If you run payroll, let's say on a Monday or Tuesday, because you want to have the checks go out or the direct deposit go out on Friday for them, then you need to remind them the previous Friday, hey, everybody take an extra 10, 15 minutes, go through your hours this week. If you forgot any, make sure they're accurate, add them in, make sure it's 100% so that when we run payroll on Monday, you're not missing hours and we're underpaying you, or we've got to call you a bunch of times. So you may have to send those reminders out regularly, especially at the beginning, to remind everyone to actually get their information into the app. It's their responsibility, and you need to tell them why. Now, you want to make it easy for them with training. So this is a big piece of the puzzle here, is it's not just one thing to set the system up and get everything kind of running. You need to have these reminders. You need to have the training and human side to it. So you want an SOP, very plain language. This is how you get the app from Google Play or Apple, your apps or whatever store. And this is how you download it. This is how you put in your hours. This is what you do if you work multiple sites during the day. This is what you do if you work multiple tasks during the day. This is what you do if you have a problem with it and you need to go back and change your hours or change the tasks you did or whatever, right? So you need a fairly built out SOP that's easy to follow, but comprehensive so that they can use that. And then also do a screen recording. So you can do a screen recording on your phone of you clicking through, adding hours. This is what you do. This is how you put in your notes. If, I was late this day or had to leave early or whatever, right? You can put in notes and all that stuff. So have that all SOP, training video, super easy. And then all this data feeds into your payroll. So it keeps everything super simple. Your guys manage their time. You get the job costing done where you can see reports, which I'm going to be talking about later. And it feeds into your payroll. So you're running payroll. Everything is gold and you are doing awesome. That I find is probably the kind of the easier two steps, is the setup and the time tracking. The third one, which I'm going to mention here, this is where things fall apart and a lot of people kind of give up. Expense tracking. Expense tracking is very difficult for a lot of number of reasons. And a lot of it is kind of expectations or thought process around going this. When you start doing expense tracking, there is no easy automated way. Maybe in a year or two from now, AI is taken over and they're just like running the show and everything runs through that and it's just like perfectly categorized. That would be nice. But as of now, this does take somebody having to categorize and figure out which project, which expense, which cost code, all this stuff. So there is a manual process. Of course, with the software, it makes it easier than ever, and there's some automation built around it, but there is still human involvement. So expense tracking, who is going to be responsible for this? You're going to have your field team. So your guys on site, if they got to run to Home Depot, pick up a box of nails, whatever you may be doing, but you know what I mean? They will need to use the system. Your project manager will need to use the system, superintendents, whoever pretty much is operating on the field. And then you're either going to have an admin person or a bookkeeper who's also involved in this process. So that's going to be who is involved. The way that I've seen this work the best is that there is ways to kind of build a form on a website and people can kind of upload their expenses, take a picture of the receipt, and accounting softwares and stuff like that will have that functionality, as well as project management softwares. So that's usually the easiest way. The other option, and they could work in tandem, is you have like an email that has like accounting at xyzcontracting.com, and all the bills, all the receipts, all the invoices, anything financially gets forwarded to that email address. And then from there, someone's going through and processing it. So either one can work. There is also email addresses for project management softwares or the accounting softwares. I'm getting a little technical here, but where things can be forwarded to those emails and then it'll go directly into your systems as well. So there's a bunch of moving parts here. That's why expense tracking is so difficult, because you really need to find one that works for you and your team, and different softwares are going to have kind of different functionality and ways that you want to route this information. Once you've got the information getting properly from wherever it is, whether it's email or site or guys taking picture or receipts or whatever, it should all be funneling into whatever system you have. I'll just use project management software as the example. So everything's getting funneled into the project management software. Now it needs to be categorized. And you also probably want to set up some approvals around it. So depending on the software, but typically the project manager is going to approve the purchases. Let's say your guy runs out and he buys a new saw or something like that. And you're like, well, no, that's part of your personal tools, or let's say a hammer or something, right? We can't cover that. So they would need to approve that. Or you might have a sub trade send in an invoice for a deposit on a project, and it's like, we're not even close to starting this project. You guys don't need to purchase any materials for it for like another month, so I'm not going to approve that deposit expense or whatever, right? So that's why you need some approvals in there. Plus, things just get mixed up sometimes. Sometimes people overcharge you or undercharge you or whatever, right? So you need a project manager who knows what's going on site to be approving and reviewing those expenses that go through the system. Project manager is also going to be the best person to be able to categorize those expenses properly, because they should know which project this is for, if it's just kind of a random receipt or what have you, which project is for, and also which cost code. Cost code is often the hard part. Most people understand like, yeah, that's for this job or that job. That's fairly easy to figure out. Which cost code it is another story, because it could be some sort of adhesive, right? Well, is that a finishing thing? Is that a framing thing? Is that for the concrete? So someone who doesn't know what stage of the project it's at or what that material is really for is not going to understand how to code that properly. So that's why the project manager is so important in this process. Now, if you have a good like extra template, this is kind of like a bonus pro tip here, is have a spreadsheet somewhere that has a place where people can put expenses that they do not know how to cost code. Now, if you are passing this off to like your bookkeeper or admin person who's going to be categorizing these cost codes, they're not going to be construction oriented necessarily and know what it is. So you want to have this spreadsheet to put in these things that's like this type of material or purchase is associated with this cost code. And sooner or later, they're going to put things in there, and then you'll review it, or the project management will review it with them and tell them like, oh yeah, that's a framing thing, or oh yeah, that's interior finishing thing. And then you'll have this big database essentially of different materials, items, and cost codes associated with it. So it'll improve over time. So actually a quick tip there, that's really saved a lot of headaches for a lot of clients getting that set up. Now, one thing I want to mention that's really important here is to understand there's a difference between the cost code categorizing and the accounts categorizing in your bookkeeping. So in bookkeeping, you're not going to have as many types of things. Like you might just have job materials, right? That could be the account that gets categorized in bookkeeping, but job materials could be any number of cost codes depending on what the material is for the project. So just recognize that there is a difference there. I've been going on a while with this expense tracking because this is the hardest part to get set up, and you just really need to stick with it and realize it's probably going to be a bit of a mess at the beginning and you just need to get it running and then hopefully get it in place. All right, so moving on to number 4. So now we've got set up, we've got time tracking, we got expense tracking. Now we need to actually use this information to be useful, to boost profits, to make sure we're not losing money, to know what's going on. And that has to do with reviews and reports. So reports can be run either through the PM software or your accounting software, bookkeeping software, whatever you want to call it. The big one you're going to check on is your estimates to actuals. So we just completed this new home build and we calculated that we use $900,000 of expenses. We go to the actuals, we actually spent $950,000. Well, where did we go over, right? So you want to be seeing like, where did we go over? Where did we go under? Did everything line up? Why the discrepancy? Why the difference? And then you can make adjustments for your next, estimate. So you've always got this feedback loop and can realize like where things commonly go out. Things you want to be looking for is commonalities. If you've just completed 5 projects and on all 5 of them, you've gone over on framing labor, then you need to boost it up. If on the last 5 estimates, you've actually overestimated the landscaping or the excavation, maybe you realize, hey, we could probably shave off 10% from our pricing because we seem to always be under on this category, which is great, but we want to be competitive in the marketplace. So you may want to adjust that, right? Or you just realize that it's a risky thing, like excavation is kind of risky. If we're, overpricing a little bit on that, that's a good thing because we never know when we might hit something underground or have some rough soil or need a bunch of backfill or something beyond what we expected. So we need to mitigate that risk with overpricing a little bit and hopefully coming under on the project on a number of them so that we do have that project that kind of goes over, we can balance things out. This is often an eye-opening experience for contractors when you are able to run these reports and you realize like, wow, this is actually what's happening, right? You pull out your wallet and you check your bank accounts and it's like, where's the profit? Or, I think we went over on this job, or I thought we made money on this job, but not sure where it is. With job costing, it's like very black and white. You can see exactly, did we make money? Did we not make money? Where was it? And all this type of stuff. So things that you want to be looking for as far as inconsistencies is like large phases of the project as well as clients. So if you have a certain certain type of client or maybe a location, and you're like, wow, we always do really good in this location, or this seems to be the type of clients that those jobs are more profitable than these other jobs, right? Or job types, maybe like additions to houses, we seem to always make like really great margins on it, whereas basement renovations or new home builds we're struggling. So maybe we either need to raise our pricing, or maybe we just target the certain type of job or the certain location to make be more profitable for us. So there's a lot of good information where you don't really need to change your business model or change your business very much, but just realizing where you're making money and doubling down on that. Something's working and working well, do more of that. If something's not working and not working well, then do less of that, right? So it makes those decisions a lot easier. Now, number 5 here, this is the most critical step. This is the pitfalls. So I've just explained how to get this all set up. Obviously, there's a lot of like details of like technical things to get this set up. And again, if you need help with this, if you want someone just to set it up for you and knows how to do this, reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you with it. But with the pitfalls, this is where I've seen a lot of contractors go awry, or when I've, gotten new clients and have tried to do this, this is what's typically happened. And the reason they kind of just fell off the rails. So software integration is a big one. Every project management software out there will tell you, yes, we integrate with Xero, with QuickBooks, and, integration, and everything is synced and tracked. A lot of it's true to the extent that they do it. Often when it gets turned on, there's inconsistencies. Stuff's going from one program to the other. And if it's not set up in the right way ahead of time before you start to integrate, it just becomes a huge pile of stinking hot mess. And it's difficult to clean up. I had one client, we were going through this integration. He's like, yeah, I think I had it integrated, but I shut it down in like minutes because it just made a huge mess of both systems because he didn't have it set up properly. So that's a big one, is realizing that not all software is created equal, and the integrations, even like all the integrations, are definitely not equal. Some work really well, some kind of work, and some only do certain things and don't integrate completely. So that's one thing. The other big pitfall is incomplete or inconsistent tracking. So often when you start this process, especially with expense tracking, you're probably going to realize that there is anywhere from like 10 to 20% potentially of expenses that just kind of get left somewhere, or maybe didn't make it into the system, or aren't being tracked properly. And this can be a little bit deceiving when you go to check your reports, because it's going to look like, wow, we made really good money on this, but that's because we're missing 10% of the expenses that should have been tracked to this job, but were put somewhere else or uncategorized or whatever, right? So having a complete tracking system that's making sure that if there's something that was not tracked properly, that it's flagged and you know about it and you can realize that something is off so you can go and fix it, right? And then inconsistency. If you as the business owner are the sole person responsible for the system, it's probably not going to work because you've got other, I wouldn't say more important, but typically more important, higher level activities to do. You need this to be run by an operations, like someone in operations, like a project manager or your foreman or whoever needs to be categorizing these things, or as well as your admin and your bookkeeper. So you need to get this off your plate so that things are getting categorized, so the job costing and tracking is being done. You may still need to forward emails with the right address and cost code, or you may need to like give some initial information. But as far as like the back end system, that has to be done by somebody else, because otherwise you're not going to prioritize this and it's not going to be effective. So that's a big one. Other pitfalls is you try to do too much too fast. If this is overwhelming, you're like, Derek, I cannot get all this done and set up. Like this is just too much, right? Start with projects. Just get job costing per project. Don't worry about necessarily the cost codes or the expense tracking, for individual cost codes or tasks. Just try to get per project so that at least at the end of the project, you can see, we estimated $400,000 on this project. It cost us $410,000 or $350,000 or whatever. So at least you have those two numbers so you can see, are you being profitable? Are you not being profitable? And that is, at least you got that set up, and that's a good start. Then from there, you can add the expense tracking, the job costing, the more, detailed information that you're going to need from there. So that's a big one. The last kind of two pitfalls I'm going to mention here is giving up. So don't give up on this. It is super important. I have rarely, if ever, seen a larger contracting company kind of break free of that maybe 3, 4 million mark without proper job costing in place. If you want to be serious about growing your company, if you want to break free of like that 1 to 2 million area for like a general contractor as far as revenue, where you're doing more than just like, a couple homes or a handful of projects a year, you're going to need job costing in place. As well as if you ever want to step back from your projects, you need job costing in place. What's happening in your company and to alert you quickly if things are going wrong. Because if you take a step back, you're just like hoping things will get done and you don't have the acumen to be able to check reports and see what's happening on projects, it's a recipe for disaster. So if you want to scale up, if you want to take a step back from site, this is an important step in your journey as a business owner to get this in place for your business. Now, the last one I'm going to mention is this is going to cost you. This is going to cost you time and it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you if you do it or if you don't do it. But realize that getting this set up, it's not just the software. It's not just automations. Yes, it seems like this should be something that could be handled through automations, but you're going to have to set up a team around this, like I mentioned, and it's going to take people's time. But if you're doing this every day, it's not that bad. The problem is people that leave it for like a week or 2 weeks, and then they've got to go through like 30 or 100 different transactions and categorize them all, right? This should be like a daily practice so that in real time, you can see where your projects are at. But it's going to take that time. It shouldn't be your time. It should be your project manager and your admin person or your bookkeeper, like I mentioned, but it's going to take time and you're going to have to pay those people for it, right? So it's going to cost you extra money. The small amount of money and extra time it's going to cost you're going to make up for it. Like I said, it's going to cost you if you do it or if you don't do it. So if you don't do it, it's going to cost you by not knowing you're profitable, not realizing where to focus your energies to get, more money and better profits, as well as not like losing money because you're wasting money in areas that you don't even understand. You're sailing your ship blind. You're completely in the dark as far as like, where do we go over? Where do we go under? All these things. So incredibly important to get this in place. Kudos to you for taking the time to watch this video and actually figure this out. Go get it set up. If you need help, check out the links in the description below. We've got a bunch of resources how to systemize your business, as well as reach out to us if you want specific done for you help with this. Love to see you on the next video.